Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw. I'm here with Ninan Chacko, who is CEO of Travel Leaders Group. We're here at the annual Travel Leaders Network Conference in Las Vegas, and we're going to find out a little bit about what's going on with Travel Leaders Group today, and this is Insider Travel Report. Now, Ninan, we're here in Vegas, and you just had a pretty big announcement yesterday. It's that you, Travel Leaders Group, and all of your different units are going to partner with American Express on Gold Card. Talk a little bit about that program and how it's going to work.
Yeah, thank you, James. We are delighted, obviously, about the announcement of this relationship with American Express. It's been in gestation for a little while. We signed an agreement in the middle of 2017 and have been really working on the implementation of it for about the last 12 months or so. The core of the relationship is around the provision of a travel benefit program that's entitled the Travel Collection. Mm-hmm. That's squarely aimed at the US Gold consumer and corporate cards. And it really is a travel benefit program that has a variety of different benefits embedded in it across air, car, hotel, cruise, and tour. And they really range from discounts, value-added amenities, shipboard credits, that sort of thing. That's one major portion of the travel collection. The other part of it is really being matched to a travel agent. So for Gold Card members, either current Gold Card members or prospective ones in the future, this will become a natural part of the benefits that they expect from American Express to get matched to a travel agent and have that travel agent work with them to take advantage of the benefits that are present within the travel collection.
So what is the benefits to members that sign up for this program, your members that sign up, and what are the benefits for the Gold Card members?
So I think of them as certainly threefold for those agent and agency members of ours across any of our brands across the business, not just Travel Leaders Network, but across ProZell, All Tour, etc. And it's fundamentally around, first and foremost, having the ability to be able to access the travel collection and use those benefits on behalf of their existing customers who may have a Gold Card or a Platinum Card. Right. And equally to be able to also access American Express's Membership Rewards loyalty program and use that pay with points feature to redeem mileage against, for example, travel purchases they're doing. And then finally, the third part of the value is really where, for an existing Gold Card member who may not have a travel agent that they're using at Travel Leaders Group, it's the opportunity for that Gold Card member who opts into the travel collection to be matched to a travel agent that opts into the travel collection to service those members and therefore for them to gain a new customer as part and parcel of that process. So really additional income opportunities, the ability to use pay with points, and of course the prospect of potentially gaining a new customer. And so that's the benefit for the agents.
And this all rolls out, you're starting your process now, but I believe you said to me that American Express is not really marketing this out till the third quarter, right?
They will really start marketing this in the third quarter through the fourth quarter of this year. So I really see this program as really getting into a full stride in 2019. You had asked earlier also, James, about the benefits really for a Gold Card member. What would they see out of this program? And it's really the ability to access these unique benefits that are present within the travel collection. Discounts, aspects of amenities, etc., that aren't available in other programs. And so it's having access to that, but equally also having access to this experience of working with an experienced travel advisor and understanding the benefit that comes from being able to use an experienced travel advisor to facilitate a transaction or a trip and an experience.
And maybe they'll like it.
And perhaps they'll like it. We know from experience, obviously being in this business, that once somebody's had a positive experience, I think it really drives a lot of repeat business.
Now, let's turn to talk a little bit about Travel Leaders Group as it's structured now. So give us an idea of how you're structured and what are the different units. We're here at Travel Leaders Network, which is your large consortium. You have Travel Leaders Luxury Brands, and then you have All Tour. Talk a little bit about how that all comes together.
Certainly. I think of the business as really having two major parts. One of them you just mentioned, which is Travel Leaders Network. It's really a network, a consortia, and a franchise, essentially the largest of its kind in the business. It's got close to 40,000 travel agents, about close to 6,000 locations across the United States and Canada also. And So that's clearly one of the major parts of our business. On the agency side of our business, I think of the network business as the services side of our business, focused on agencies. And then on the agency side of our business, I broadly think of that as having four major elements to it. Luxury brands, which you mentioned, which encompasses, I think, all of the brands who are focused on, who skew pretty significantly towards luxury. So Pro Travel, Zell, Altor, obviously household names, certainly within the industry, as being recognized for having a very strong focus on luxury, together with a number of other brands that we've acquired over the years, Andrew Harper Travel, In the Know Experiences, Road Trips, etc. So really a collection of agency brands primarily focused on the luxury market.
Right.
I then think of another of our key business units as Nexion, which has close to 4,000 or so members, mostly home-based, lots of folks in terms of second careers, but primarily independent contractors, primarily focused on leisure. There's a little bit of business volume in there, but I think of that as really being squarely focused on that market of agents who are work at home, looking at second careers, that sort of thing, and very successful in its own right. Then we have a purpose-built corporate entity that's called Travel Leaders Corporate that's primarily focused on the corporate market. So we don't have independent contractors in that business. It's really all employed travel agents, primarily focused on serving small to medium-sized corporates, really all across North America as well as the United Kingdom. And then finally, the last part of our business is a collection of wholly owned leisure agencies, primarily focused on the cruise segment, CrewCon amongst them, All Aboard Travel, Singles, etc. Primarily focused, as I said again, on cruise, but not exclusively. There's obviously other aspects of leisure business there, but those are really the core businesses on the agency side, plus TLN.
Now, that's a lot of different businesses. They're all travel agent focused. How are you integrating them, and what are the synergies you're creating?
Yeah, it's a great question, James. I mean, the pithy answer would be slowly and methodically. So we sort of think about the synergies as really being in two parts, both revenue synergies, primarily driven from our ability to aggregate all of this volume under a core set of supplier contracts across all these different supplier categories. That's something that can happen generally relatively quickly. Generally in the space of, let's say, the first 6 months or so, we're able to aggregate all of this volume under our Travel Leaders contracts across air, car, hotel, cruise, etc. And that, of course, drives some synergy, and we get some benefit from being able to do all of that. And then the cost-related synergies, starting to tie our business processes together, whether they're across finance, human resources, information technology, is a little bit of a longer cycle. It generally takes upwards of 24 months or to 36 months to really get the organization's fully integrated. And we've generally taken a very slow, methodical approach towards that, primarily because we recognize that most of these entities that we're buying, James, are successful businesses in their own right, run by entrepreneurs in most cases. And so we want to preserve the essence that I think ensures that those businesses continue to be successful and continue to be competitive, while figuring out what areas exist where we can coordinate, for example, telephony or back office accounting or payroll or benefits, etc. So very slowly, very methodically, but I think it gives us a good sense of essentially ensuring that we preserve the value in these assets that we've bought.
And also, obviously, you present an overall bigger entity to your preferred suppliers, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, at the core of it, I think from a Travel Leaders Group standpoint, our goal has been to, I think, provide what we feel is the single best home in the industry for any kind of agent or agency somewhere within Travel Leaders Group, whether it's on the network side of our business or one of these agency divisions. We believe there's an ideal and optimal home for an agent, both in terms of providing the services and infrastructure they may need, which might range from telephony to infrastructure to training to networking, but of course with an overarching theme of having simply the best supplier contracts and economics and infrastructure that are present in the industry. Now, if we can then add to that our ability to generate demand through our own innovative demand generation programs like Agent Explorer, etc., or through this American Express relationship, having exposure to Gold Card members, we think that's kind of the icing on the cake, so to speak, with respect to this kind of full range of services that we can provide to any agent or agency.
Now, your last major acquisition that I remember was Altor last year.
Yes.
Do you have any ideas of acquiring more entities in the business? And if so, what are some of the things you're looking for? So we've really had, I think, as you know, a very successful track record of, I think, acquiring, certainly over the last 4 to 7 years or so, and that
pace has really accelerated in the last 2.5 years. So this year alone, another of our major acquisitions was Barhead in the UK. So for us, the focus is really about finding those agencies who have, I think, successful operating business models, have the right kind of book of business that I think drive synergy, especially on the revenue side with us. So agencies that are perhaps focused on cruise, like Crucon, agencies that are focused on, say, the luxury hotel market, like Andrew Harper Travel, Alltour, which has a very similar footprint and profile to Pro and Zell. So we're really looking for those agencies that are successful in terms of the quality of the businesses that they have, and of course corporate agencies too. Historically, our focus has been primarily on the United States, but I think that focus has continued to expand, and as you're aware, we've acquired both in the United Kingdom and Mexico recently. So I think we're starting to take a far more expansive view of where these opportunities exist. And yes, I think acquisitions stay right at the forefront of what we're interested in terms of agencies of a certain size,
right,
that I think have a good fit with our existing businesses and frankly can benefit from all of this infrastructure that we've put into place.
Well, Aniki, that brings up a point. You have 3 large agencies, and they all are members of other groups. And I think the industry is always wondering how long that will remain the case. Does that benefit you? Does that benefit them? Where do you see that going? With Zell, which is Signature, with Alltour, which is obviously a big entity within American Express, and of course Pro, which is part of Virtuoso.
Right. I think as those entities and those relationships have largely been successful at serving the needs of our agents within each of those brands, and I think they'll continue to exist. We have no plans to change any of that, and as long as they can continue serving the needs of our agents in those businesses, and our agents continue to thrive and we continue to thrive, I certainly think in my mind there's no reason that any of that would change for the foreseeable future. So we think it's quite a successful formula that our agents have the ability to access a broad range of products and infrastructure and capability that allows them to service their customers in the most effective way possible. But ultimately we're driven by ensuring that we can provide for our agents in the most effective way possible. And today that's through these relationships in addition and augmenting what we currently provide.
And my last questions are just related to what have been the challenges of integrating all this? Where do you see some challenges left in putting this all together? I know it's a massive organization, so where would you see that? And then the corollary would be, where do you see your successes so far?
Yeah, so the challenges undoubtedly, James, from my standpoint, are really in the arena of bringing together a whole bunch of acquisitions that we've made. They all bring their own culture, identity, set of values with them. I think determining how to effectively preserve the best of what they bring while melding them into a common whole is no small task. Now, that's made immeasurably easier by the management team we've been able to assemble, some in part by hiring, obviously from outside TLG, some in part through these acquisitions that we've done. But I think that's really the core challenge, is how we take all of these component parts, and especially considering we're going to continue acquiring more of these component parts and create the strongest alloy that we can from all of them. So that's non-trivial. And I think the mechanical aspects of that, putting everybody on the same payroll system, getting the right, the same 401k plan in place, are things that are really just a question of resourcing and time. But I think it's the softer elements, the norms, how we do business, how we think of ourselves, where we see ourselves, what our identity is, that are the more challenging aspects. I have no doubt we'll conquer them. They're just not things that short term, I think, will be easy to kind of put in a box and put a bow around it and say problem solved. I think it's one of those things that's evolving, particularly considering these new elements that we're acquiring. Now, conversely, when I think about the strength that comes in it, simply put, size confers enormous advantages, size and scale. And that's what we possess uniquely in this industry. And size and scale with the right kind of demand that we've captured. It's precisely the demand that suppliers prize most highly. So as a result of that, we get obviously these unique economics that we're confident are superior to really any other player in the business. But along with those economics also comes a level of support that we get from these suppliers that's really almost as valuable, especially in times of disruption or in terms of creating new products, etc. But it's that strength of those supplier relationships, the economics associated with them, that I think that's at the heart that defines, I think, the primary value of Travel Leaders Group. And that's not to take away from all the incredible things that my colleagues have done, not the least of which is Travel Leaders Network with this wonderful infrastructure at this conference in Las Vegas, the training opportunities, etc. But that size and scale gives us this wonderful position in the industry of being able to deliver on the value proposition to suppliers of being their outsourced sales force and being able to capture the demand that they're most interested in, that they're perhaps least likely able to capture on their own.
Well, Ninan, thank you for taking the time to talk about what's new with Travel Leaders Group, the American Express deal, maybe giving our audience a better explanation of all the pieces that go into Travel Leaders Group and where you're going forward in the future. Great to see you, and thanks for inviting me to this wonderful conference in Vegas.
Likewise, James, and delighted to have you here. Enjoy the rest of your time in Las Vegas and enjoy the event.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.